Today, we'll have Allie's recent June-July Disney World trip that's coming up on this episode 522 of WDW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. Disney trips. I'm trying to say Disney trips instead of Disney World trips since we have more than just Disney World. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 522. Today is another trip report. This time it is with Allie, who recently went end of June, early July with her family. So obviously there's going to be some weather things as part of our conversation. But also she ended up staying at 3 different hotels and doing lots of different things during the trip that I think you will find interesting. I will have that in just a moment. If you would like to listen to these episodes without ads, the way to do that is to become a patron, because the episode that is audio only that goes up on the main feed, the same exact file gets posted to Patreon, but there are no ads inserted there. And so that is an option. We also have an after chat that goes up for bonus content where I talk to the guests about more things that we aren't talking about in the main feed. And so that is the place to do it. As always, a reminder also, if you want to be a guest like Allie, the only way to do that is to leave a voicemail at the SpeakPipe information that is listed in the show notes of every episode. Or if you're in a podcast app that doesn't have show notes, it's speakpipe.com/WDWPrep2Go. Leave a voicemail with the details of your trip. And if it works with a schedule, somebody on my team will reach out to you to get you booked for your pre-trip and your post-trip. I think that's it for the intro. Here are my chats with Allie. Welcome, Podcast Allie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are talking on Tuesday, June 9th, and I understand you're going to Disney World.
Yes, I am.
What are your trip dates?
We are leaving June 25th and we'll return July 3rd.
Okay. Have you ever traveled this time of year?
So I have, but not with my family. So I know how hot it's going to be. I don't know if they know how hot it's going to be.
Yes. And who is your family that's going with you?
So my husband, Alex, my daughter, Annabeth, she is 7, and my son, Ben, is 4.
Okay. And it's nobody's first time?
No. Nope,
okay.
Not our first time.
Okay. And what made you decide to go this time of year with your family?
So I'm a teacher, so this is obviously summer break for me. My daughter has just started competitive dance, so that limits our breaks and trips and that kind of thing. We've never taken this long of a trip. It's 8 nights, so I'm excited for that. Usually it's a much shorter trip so that we can go more often, but with prices and Cool Kids Summer, and we couldn't pass up the opportunity.
So now we know who's going and we know your trip dates. Where are you guys staying?
So this is an interesting part of the trip. I've done a split stay before, but never 3 different resorts. So we are staying in 3 different resorts. Our first one is Port Orleans Riverside.
Okay. And is this because you just really want free water park tickets?
So we had the 2 booked because of the free water park tickets. Yes. And then I just snowballed the trip. We decided to fly. So it just worked better with flight prices to add 2 more days on. Plus they did the Disney Plus promotion. So it made that for the first 2 nights more manageable.
Okay. So Port Orleans Riverside.
Yes.
And then what else?
Then the Contemporary. And then the Yacht Club.
Okay. All different locations.
Yes. And we are going to maximize our proximity to the parks with that too.
Exactly. That is the way to do it. Sometimes people will do split stays of resorts that are next to each other. I'm like, no. You're not taking advantage of all the things.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you already said that you're flying. So does that mean on Thursday, June 25th, that you are flying to Orlando and then headed to Port Orleans Riverside?
Yes. So we depart from Cincinnati. I'm about 3 hours from there. So we have a good little drive to Cincinnati. And I don't love these flight times. And I'm actually looking to see if the price decreases for earlier in the day, but still the same day. But we don't leave Cincinnati until 9:30 p.m. It was just like $600 more to leave earlier in the day. And I wasn't doing that. So we leave at 9:30 p.m. and we won't land in Orlando until 11:52 p.m.
Yeah. I didn't even know they had flights departed that late.
Yeah. So we'll hope that we actually depart that day. I know when it's later flight time, sometimes that misses if there's a delay or something, but we've got plenty of days to work with. And like I said, I'm watching those prices and see if they go down for earlier in the day.
Okay, as of right now, it's a very late arrival on Thursday, and then you head to Port Orleans, Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
How are you getting there?
We use a private car service. So they'll pick us up at Orlando and take us there.
Okay. And then you just go to bed.
Yes, exactly. I'm probably going to put the kids in their pajamas and just go to bed.
Yeah, okay. So then let's talk about Friday, June 26th.
Okay, so that's our Animal Kingdom Day. I did rent a stroller from Scooter Bug, so I did put that to be delivered Thursday, like their latest delivery time. So that way it'll be with Bell Services when we're ready to grab it on Friday. And we are going to purchase multi-pass for Animal Kingdom. So I'm not going to be in a huge hurry to get there. We'll probably sleep in a little bit and grab some quick service breakfast. And I will probably get the Safari, Navi River Journey, and maybe Expedition Everest. My daughter acts like she's being a little more adventurous with rides, so we might try that. And then we'll get a single pass for me, my husband, and my daughter for Flight of Passage. But the main reason we are going to Animal Kingdom is for Bluey. My kids love Bluey, so I'm an annual pass holder, but I purchased them the 4-park magic ticket. So, of course, Animal Kingdom was included in that, and so that'll be our kind of attraction priorities for the day.
Okay. That sounds good then. I was thinking you were talking about your daughter being adventurous on Expedition Everest. I'm like, at least you can see how big it is.
Yeah.
Like something like Space Mountain, you can't see it. You don't know what you're in for until you're on it. Mm-hmm. But at least she has some kind of visual for what she's, getting herself into.
Right. She doesn't love to go backwards. So that's been the only thing that kept us from riding it so far.
And that is, you can't see that from the ground. But yeah, that would be a big hiccup if she doesn't like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so Bluey's a big focus. Do you have dining plans on this day?
So we are going to eat at Yak and Yeti at 12:15. That's a new restaurant for us. We usually do Tusker House at Animal Kingdom, so we're going to try something different. I would imagine that after that, we will probably leave in the early evening, late afternoon. It won't be, we won't stay until park close or anything, I imagine, with the heat as well. And then we'll just head back to the hotel and probably swim. I did look up the resort activity schedule because Port Orleans Riverside is one of the ones where they're doing lots of more cool kids summer activities. So there's a character greeting in the lobby from 3:30 to 3:50. So I'd like to be back for that.
Okay. Okay, are you ready for Saturday, June 27th?
Well, I will add, we do have I don't know if we'll keep it, kind of depends on what time we get back to the resort, but we do have a 5:30 Wailulu Bar and Grill reservation. I've eaten there, but my family hasn't, and I loved it. So we'll see if we keep that, but I've got that there in case we want to leave for dinner.
Okay. So what are your Saturday plans then?
So this is a resort switch day, so it means it's a water park day. And we are going to go to Typhoon Lagoon this day. They have for Cool Kids Summer direct transportation from Riverside to Typhoon Lagoon. So that's why I chose that first. We will probably just grab breakfast at the quick service and go to the water park when it opens. And so we also have never done a Disney water park. In fact, we've not even really done a water park as a family. They kind of make me nervous. So we'll see. I don't even know if my kids will really like it, but it was nice that we didn't pay anything extra for these days. So we may not even last that long. I'm not sure. But this is the day we check into the Contemporary. So definitely once our room's ready, we'll head there.
Okay. I think you might like Typhoon Lagoon.
Okay.
Well, the wave pool.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know that they would love that. I was going to do Blizzard Beach first because to me it seemed like it had more things that my kids would like, but with that direct transportation, we just Typhoon Lagoon.
On the day that we're talking, you and I are talking, I have the podcast episode that just went up about how I hate the Typhoon Lagoon transportation.
Yeah, that was another big reason why I chose Riverside. We've stayed there before. I like it. It's not my favorite resort because of the transportation options, but it won for this purpose. So.
Yes, it's a big perk.
Yep.
All right. Any other plans on this day?
We have a Steakhouse 71 reservation at 6 p.m. We got the dining plan for the Contemporary reservation and the Yacht Club reservation because both of my kids are free. So that will be our first dining credit for that reservation. I didn't get it for Riverside because we arrived so late that first day. It just didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, you would have 8 minutes.
Yeah. So we are also going to do a grocery delivery for when we check into the Contemporary. So we have some snacks and drinks and that kind of thing. I'll probably use Walmart.
Okay. I do think grocery delivery with split stays is tough.
It is. That's why I'm waiting until we get to the Contemporary. Yeah.
Yeah. My last trip had, 3-4 resorts. And I was like, I can't do groceries because I can't carry them all.
Right. Yeah. It's hard.
Okay.
But that's really it for that day. We have a theme park view room. So we'll just hang out on the balcony probably that evening and try to watch fireworks, hopefully.
Okay. That's nice. Have you ever stayed there?
We have not. This is a first for us for the Contemporary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is your plan for June 28th, Sunday?
So it's our Magic Kingdom day because of the Contemporary. So we are usually not rope droppers either. But going this time of year, I think we're going to try to be, at least for like maybe Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. But I will get multi-pass and I will get single pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. But my kids absolutely love Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And I just can't stand to wait like a normal wait for that. And they always want to ride it more than once. So we'll try to rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train to ride it without a lightning lane and then also have our single pass. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, we're not usually rope droppers. I don't like to put undue stress on anybody, but we'll try it out because of
Yes, the heat and always the crowds too.
Right,
but
yeah.
Okay. What else on this day?
So our other must-dos are for sure Jesse's Roundup at the Diamond Horseshoe. I think my kids will really like that. I imagine that we'll leave the park in the heat of the day, probably around 1 or 2, maybe swim if the weather is good, just to take a midday break. We're also usually not midday break people, but again, because of the heat, I think it would be a good idea. And we're so close to Magic Kingdom. We do have an Ohana reservation at 4 p.m. So while we're still kind of outside the park, we will eat there. We love Ohana. And this is also a first for us, but we have the Magic Kingdom fireworks dessert pre-party that evening. So another reason why a midday break come back because we'll be there pretty late. So we've got that booked.
Yes. You have so far named 2 dining reservations at the Polynesian. Have you ever stayed at the Polynesian?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We like it, but the rates were just not there for this trip.
Yeah, it can be a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay, then Monday, June 29th.
So this is a resort switch day as well. So we had 2 nights at Riverside, 2 nights at the Contemporary. So this will be our Blizzard Beach day. I will check our bags with Bell Services for them to be moved while we're at the water park. But we do have a 10 a.m. Chef Mickey's reservation. So while we're there, why not? And that will be the start of our second dining plan. So I have to really work to use the credits the right way because I know they expire before you check in the next day. So that will be the first of the Yacht Club dining plan.
Yes, we do. We always get lots of questions about split stays and dining plan credits. And I know that there's an overlap. So you'll have to let us know how it works, like functionally.
I think I will feel better about it and I've done this before, but I will feel better about it if I just zero out all my credits the last night that we're somewhere. Yeah.
So that you don't have credits from both buckets.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That just gets too confusing.
Okay, so 10 a.m. Chef Mickey's, and then do you go to Blizzard Beach from there?
Yes, go to Blizzard Beach from there. There's not great transportation options from there, and knowing us, we will probably we may take the resort transportation too, but knowing us, we'll probably minivan back to the Yacht Club, especially after a long hot day. So yeah, and that evening my plans are really loose. I know there's Mickey tie-dye at the resort, and my daughter did that several years ago, and it's a great little souvenir because it's an activity and a souvenir. And I want to say it was $20 a couple of years ago. I don't know if it still is, but I'd say they'll both want to do that. And then I have a 6:35 Beaches and Cream reservation. I don't know if we'll keep that. We may just hang by the pool and do quick service because there's an 8:30 glow party at the Yacht Club that night, and that seemed fun.
And have you ever stayed at the Yacht Club?
We have not. We've stayed at the boardwalk, so that's the closest over there that we've stayed. So I'm excited. Mainly booked that for the pool.
Yes. Good choice if you want a good pool.
Yeah.
Okay, a glow party and Beaches and Cream. That sounds like a fun evening. And tie-dye activity.
We may not do any of this, but I have options in case we want to.
All right, then I bet I can guess what Tuesday, June 30th is one of two nearby parks.
Yes, so this is going to be our Hollywood Studios day. I don't really know why I chose this one over Epcot, but we just went with Hollywood Studios this day. I'd say we'll probably just grab breakfast in the room from our Walmart delivery. And I do want to do the walk. I've never done the walk to Hollywood Studios from over there. So we'll probably walk it that morning and not walk it that afternoon. But I will buy a multi-pass probably for all the Toy Story rides and try to get those as early in the day as I can to try to avoid the heat over there. And we'll get a single pass for Rise of the Resistance. This is the first time that my son will be tall enough to ride that. So he's excited about that. And then our other must-dos, just attraction-wise, the Walt Disney Studios lot, that is where they've got all the characters. I'm excited to try that out. And the new Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show and the Little Mermaid show, which I've done, but my kids have not. So that's our must-dos for that day.
Well, there's a lot of activity all in that one little space.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
You called it the Walt Disney Studios lot, and I've been struggling with what to call it because in the app, they call it Animation Courtyard, but I'm like, no, that's the old name.
Yeah. I had to Google it, and that's where I landed on. I don't know where I got that, but I was wanting to call it Animation Courtyard, too.
Well, I need Disney to get finalized on what they're going to call it because that space is worth talking about, and I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've seen videos of that characters playing like Duck Duck Goose with kids and that kind of thing. So that's
it's the best. The best. One of my favorite things in the whole world right now.
Awesome. I would say we'll do a midday break because we want to do Fantasmic that night. So we may take the Skyliner back, and we have a 6 p.m. Roundup Rodeo barbecue reservation, and then Fantasmic at 9:05.
And is that dinner reservation Fantasmic dinner package?
No, it's not included in the Roundup Rodeo is not included in Fantasmic dinner package, and I really wish that
that's right. You were saying Fantasmic and dining plan, and I was like, oh yeah, you could just do Fantasmic dining package, but it's not there.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. Have you guys seen Fantasmic?
We have. It's been a few years, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Wednesday, July 1st?
That is our rest day. So not much going on that day. We do have a 9:45 Topolino's reservation for breakfast. We love Topolino's. And this is kind of random, but I put it in my notes mainly for me. But I collect the magnets from each resort that we've stayed at. And last time we stayed at Caribbean Beach, they did not have any. So I plan to stop by there while we're at Topolino's and see if they have a magnet. That's totally random and in my notes for me. But like I said, that would be something we probably try to do.
Okay, so Topolino's, have you done Topolino's breakfast?
Yes, we love it. It's very good and very low stimulating for kids, and that's one reason why I really like it.
It is, and easy for parents to not have to go make trips to the buffet.
Yes, that's great.
What's after that?
After that is just by the pool, probably a pool day, and we'll do probably a quick service lunch and then maybe go to Disney Springs in the evening. My kids want to do the Lego store, and we always go to World of Disney. I do have a 6 p.m. T-Rex reservation for my son. He's wanted to try that. So I know it's probably not the best food in the world, but for the atmosphere, yeah.
The kids seem to love it.
Yeah, so that's really it for that day.
Okay. And then I'm going to just make a wild guess. The next day is Epcot.
It is, yes, our last park day. We will get multi-pass for that day, and I will get Guardians. Again, I'm trying to talk my daughter into doing Guardians because it's our absolute favorite ride. And so I'm going to get single pass for 3 of us, and if she doesn't ride it, then me or my husband will ride it twice. We don't mind. And then we have an 11:45 Garden Grill reservation. I've never eaten there, but they do have the annual pass discount. So I probably won't use a dining credit because it's like 40% off that day. So I'm excited to try that. And that's really it. I would say this day, I'm not really sure if we'll do a midday break. I feel like we can get everything done towards the beginning of the day, and we don't love Luminous. So my kids don't. So we'll probably head back kind of early, get packed up and everything because this is our last night.
And I am fascinated that your trip is pretty long, but you're doing 4 park days. So it gives you, I mean, there's water parks in there too. 4 park days plus water parks. And so it's like a nice mix of like hardcore park time, resort time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was wanting. We knew there were things in each park that we wanted to do, but we don't want to go hard all day. We're fortunate enough to get to go often. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. And I think with the heat and everything, it'll be a nice balance to not have to be out in it.
Right.
As quite, 12 hours a day or something.
Right.
Okay. So Friday, July 3rd is departure day.
Yes, it is. We will probably finish up our quick service credits for breakfast this day at the resort, and our flight leaves at 11:07 from MCO. So that same car service will just pick us up and take us to the airport, and we land back in Cincinnati at 1:30, and then we have about a 3-hour drive home.
Hey, this sounds like a good trip plan. Anything that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay. Well, this sounds really good. And it's crazy that it's going to be like almost a month until I talk to you again.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, with our schedules, this just worked the best. So, yeah.
It does. So I appreciate you sharing this and hope you guys have a great trip.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome back from your trip, Allie.
Hi, it's good to be back.
We're talking on Monday, July 6th, which means you've been back for a few days. How'd your trip go?
It was wonderful. The best Disney trip we've ever taken. I think the long stay helped, but we pivoted a lot, and I kind of went with the flow with what the family wanted to do. And I think that's what made it such a great trip.
Okay. All about the pivot here.
Yes.
Need to make that the tagline. All about the plan to pivot. Anyway, okay. So let's start talking through it to see how you had to pivot. So June 25th, Thursday, you were flying from Cincinnati to Orlando.
Yes. So, the day was fine here. We finished getting packed up. We went to Cincinnati. We had about a 30-minute delay with the flight, which I expected since it was a flight that was later in the evening. So we ended up boarding about 9:45. We landed at midnight, but this was the worst part of the whole trip. We stayed on the tarmac for an hour in
Orlando?
In Orlando, yes. The pilot came on the intercom and said that they didn't have a gate for us. And then once they did, there was a shift change in the workers, and they just kind of like abandoned us. So we literally sat on the plane from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. My son was asleep, thankfully, but we were all getting antsy. I mean, couples were arguing, and, it was just... It was hard, but we finally got off the plane. We were picked up at 1:25 with our car service. It was all fantastic. And we got
Was the car service confused about why you were running an hour late?
Well, I was texting him and I was like, I'm so sorry. And he said that the airport was very busy at that time, which is crazy to me that the airport would be busy at midnight. But
yeah.
So we got to Riverside around 2 in the morning. We were in the Alligator Bayou section, room 2858, and that was pretty far back. This is my third time staying at Riverside, and that's probably the furthest away I think I've ever been, which was fine for a shorter stay. I also didn't think to request a first floor room, and I should have, because we had our stroller and lugging all that luggage up at 2 in the morning.
Can we talk about the stroller? So did you pick that up at 2 a.m. when you got there?
No, I didn't. Well, no, I'm saying I'd had the stroller for the rest of the stay. Just that morning.
Okay.
That morning was just our luggage. So
okay.
I didn't have the stroller scheduled to be dropped off with Scooter Bug until the following morning.
Oh, okay. All right. So you didn't have to stop at 2 a.m. to do that part of it?
No.
Can you talk about the private car service? Did that go well? And if so, what's the name?
Yeah, so it's J&A Transportation. Mm-hmm. The travel agency recommended that, and he was fantastic. We've used him several times, and very communicative. I could just text him and be like, "Here's what's going on," and he was fine with that. Okay. I'm sure he's used to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got in the room and immediately went to bed. We were in bed by 2:30. So
2:30, very late night. Okay, so the next day was Friday, June 26th, and you had planned Animal Kingdom.
Yes. So I got up a little bit earlier than everybody else. I wasn't in a big hurry to get to Animal Kingdom. We had our lightning lane, so kind of let everybody sleep in. I got up and went and got the stroller, which I'm glad I used Scooter Bug, because had we scheduled to try to get it the night before, that would have been a nightmare since we were running so late. So kind of made a mental note that that's a perk of using Scooter Bug. I also had placed a grocery order while we were waiting on the plane for an hour to pick up the following morning. I didn't think I was going to do a grocery pickup, but the thought of not having like bottled waters and some goldfish for the kids and that kind of thing, so I went ahead and did that. Picked up those groceries, and
I'm sorry, which service did you use for that?
Just Walmart.
Okay.
Yep. They left it with Bell Services, so I didn't have to be there right when they were there. As I was walking to the food court area, lobby area, Minnie and Daisy were out meeting. So I was kind of sad I didn't have my kids, but they were just kind of roaming the resort as part of the Cool Kids Summer offerings. So got that, headed back to the room, got the kids ready. We were out of the room by 9:30, which wasn't that bad given that we were in bed at 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we stopped and got coffee at the quick service there at Riverside and got to the bus stop around 9:50. The bus came 10 minutes later and we were scanned into Animal Kingdom by 10:25.
10:25.
Yeah.
And what was your first? Where'd you go first?
So we went to the safari first, scanned in there at 10:40. And it was great. Lots of animals. I'd always heard that, if it's hot outside, you usually don't see that many animals, but I didn't find that to be true necessarily. So we had a good safari. And then we walked towards the train to take the train to Bluey. And I was so excited about Bluey. And I've never heard this aspect of the Bluey experience, but we didn't have a very good experience with Bluey, and it made me very sad because that was the only reason we were going to Animal Kingdom.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so we got out there and they, showed us, they pretty much usher you straight to the meet and greet. So we go in, wonderful air conditioned building. We kind of, took a breather, and we were in this kind of queue in the main room, and they've got these tall plants in the back to where you could tell that they were there so that you couldn't see what's going on. So my kids were, peeking through. There was a show finishing up, and I said, "Oh, don't watch because we're getting ready to go in." So Bluey and Bingo took a break. You could tell that they were ushering more people into that little waiting area, and we didn't get to go. But my kids could still see everything. And so they were watching but didn't get to participate. And towards the end, I was like, okay, do you all want to stay so that you can do it? And they were like, no, not really. So we left. So they got to see it but didn't get to participate. And I just wish that queue would have been somewhere else. Because we weren't the only, my kids could understand what was going on, but I can't imagine trying to tell a 2-year-old or, that, no, you can't go in there and play. You just have to stand here and watch. So,
Yeah, that's not good.
no. And it was probably a little bit on me for getting there a little bit later in the day, but still the park didn't seem that crowded. I would have never thought that would have been an issue, I guess. So probably getting there earlier would have fixed that, but.
Yeah, that's a bummer though.
Yeah. I just don't think that was it didn't seem very Disney-ish of them. No. But anyway, they got to watch it. I didn't get any pictures with them, and we're probably going to be out of our Bluey phase, at least for my youngest, here soon. So just, oh well. But anyway. So we left because we had our Yak and Yeti reservation and we didn't want to be late for it. So we headed to Yak and Yeti and were seated. We left Bluey around 11:55. So we were there for about 25 minutes and still didn't, participate.
25 minutes, and that was just kind of in the queue. And the show, if I recall, is about 12 minutes long.
Yeah. So we watched the end of one and then watched the whole other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too long. That's too long.
Yeah. It was a great air conditioning. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, there's that, but still having to stand there for that long because it's a lot of stop and start, and I just think that's frustrating.
Yeah. So we left for lunch. We ate at Yak and Yeti. This was a first for us, and I really, really liked it. We usually eat at Tusker House, so this was a good switch up. We were seated at Yak and Yeti around 12:24. I got the sweet and sour chicken wok, and my husband got the Korean beef wok. The kids got some noodles and chicken. Everybody ate really well. And after that, we went toward Pandora and scanned in for Na'vi, which was I guess that would have been our second lightning lane of the day, and rode Na'vi. And then everybody rode Na'vi, and my husband and my daughter scanned in for a flight of passage, and they did that. So she was good for that, because last time we tried to get on it, we literally were those people that had to ask for the ride to be stopped because she didn't want to participate. So she was good this time, and I was glad they got to have a good memory together, because it was me and her when she got off. So I was glad they were able to do that. So
what did you do while they were on that?
Yeah, so Ben and I went and got a coffee. Oh, I got a coffee. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Kusafari. Is that right?
Kusafiri. I don't know.
Yeah, the coconut coffee that's popular there, and it was really, really good. I never wanted to stand in line, but by this time it was 2:00 and there was no line. So I got that. They were off at 2:20. He and I walked through a few stores. They were off at 2:20, and we got the bluey ices at Pizza Fari. They wanted those. So we got those, kind of sat down, took a break. And by this time of day, it was very, very hot. And we went through some of the shops and then decided to head back. So we didn't do a whole lot in Animal Kingdom, but we had a good time, and we were able to kind of slowly walk through things and see things that we never really paid attention to before. So we went to the bus stop around 3:35, and the bus got there around 4, and we were back to our room at 4:30.
Okay, you probably needed an easy park day after that late night.
Yes, this was good. Like, I know it's not going to seem like on paper it doesn't look like we did a lot, but it was a good day. I think on one of the last trip reports that I listened to, someone who stayed at Riverside had a TV that didn't work. I don't know why this stood out to me, but our TV did not work once we got back to the room. We didn't turn it on the night before, obviously, but the kids wanted to lay down and watch some TV. So when we got back to our room, I had to call for someone to come fix our TV, and I went and picked up a pizza. But Alex said they kind of did the same thing. They moved that fifth sleeper and did something behind it, and then it worked. So I just thought that was totally weird that someone else had just had the same experience.
If I recall correctly, in that one, they replaced the TV.
And I don't remember.
I'm like, do they just have like a stash of TVs on hand just in case?
He said they just did something with the wiring, and then they were out of there. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But I picked up one of the pizzas. We didn't have the dining plan for this part of the stay, so a big pizza was a great option for all of us for dinner. Got that and the breadsticks, and we ate in the room, and then we decided to go to the pool around 6 o'clock. It looked like it was about to storm, so as we were walking by the pool, they actually closed it. So we just kind of walked to the lobby, went to the shop, kind of waited around because it never rained. I think there was just probably some lightning in the area. The pool opened back up at 6:45, and the kids swam there. They loved the water slide. This was the perfect water slide for their ages. I know some pools have bigger ones, but they could both do this one great. We could see them, walk up to the top, so we didn't have to go up there every time. My daughter said there wasn't a lifeguard up there, but there was a red light, green light to tell them when to go. So that was great. I don't know how many times they did the water slide.
Good. Let them wear themselves out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then we walked over to the little playground area because it's pretty close. And then we went back to the room, and that was 626. That was Stitch Day. So there were all kinds of Stitch movies on TV. Mm-hmm. So we watched a Stitch movie, and we were in bed by 9. I don't know what time everybody fell asleep, but that was a great evening to end out Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. And at what point in the day did you realize you weren't going to head to Wailulu for that reservation?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. So I think when we were leaving Animal Kingdom, okay, the kids said that they would rather swim. And I had in mind that we might do that if it was raining. Mm-hmm. So since it didn't, they knew they wanted to swim, and this would be their only chance to swim at Riverside. So
I am imagining sitting outside at Wailulu in the rain. Something about that seems like it would be really nice.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have cared to do that if it was raining and we couldn't swim, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next day was Saturday, June 27th, and you were switching resorts.
Yes. So I actually got up pretty early this day. We were, in bed by 9. So I had never walked between Riverside and French Quarter, and I wanted to see what that was like. So I went for a walk around 7 and walked to French Quarter and back. I stopped to get me and Alex a coffee, and in my Walmart order, I had done like the individual cereals. So I grabbed the kids some milk for that. And actually because this was our check-in day for Contemporary, I already had my credit. So I went ahead and got our refillable mugs and put coffee in those for our coffee that morning. I got back to the room around 10 after 8, got everybody ready, got everything packed up. I called for the luggage pickup at 9:40. Since we were on the second floor and that would have been a haul with our luggage, we decided to use Bell Services to come pick it up. I wish I would have called before we had everything. Like, we were ready to walk out the door, and then I called. I shouldn't have done that because I called at 9:40. They came at 10:15. So we were just kind of waiting. But given the logistics of that resort, I can understand why it took so long. And we were pretty far away. So they came about 10:15, got all our luggage. We were on the bus by 10:30, and we were going to Blizzard Beach this day. Yeah. So when
I had written down Typhoon Lagoon.
Oh, you're right. It was Typhoon Lagoon. I was just looking for my Blizzard Beach notes before this, but it was Typhoon Lagoon.
The reason that is important is that you would have had better transportation to Typhoon Lagoon from Riverside.
Yes, it was just a straight bus, so that was great. We didn't have to transfer buses or anything.
Okay.
Yes. So I wish that I had scoped out on the map, like where would be a good place for us to try to sit, given what size stuff our kids would like. And I didn't do that. And we just kind of found some chairs that were the first that we came to. It was pretty crowded this day. It was a Saturday, so I imagine a lot of people were checking in on a Saturday. So we put our chairs by something, and we were looking around, and I was like, I just don't think there's a lot that the kids are going to like here. So I figured out where the kid play area was, which is called Ketchikiddee Creek. Yes, Ketchikiddee. And so we went over there and found a seat, and that was great. My kids loved that, especially Ben. Annabeth was too tall for the water slides there. But they have a tube slide that is being really geared towards toddlers there. And I don't know how many times he did that. It was perfect. You know, he felt big getting in that tube and it didn't go too fast. And he was able to get out of it himself. And so then we go back around. So he and I did that. And Alex and Annabeth went to the wave pool. And I tried to
so intense.
I tried to warn him and he was like, oh, it can't be that bad. He goes, we won't go out that far. Well, he didn't have his phone on him or anything. And eventually I just said, we'll just be here. So whenever you all get done, come back. Well, he lost his sunglasses in the wave pool. He ended up having to hold Annabeth up, to keep her from going completely under. She's a pretty good swimmer, but still, I think he underestimated the wave pool. And I tried to tell him. So that was on him.
It cannot be said enough.
No. And he just kept going on. He would go on and on just random times throughout the trip. I can't believe how big that wave pool was. Yeah. I was like, they sound a whole siren that you can hear throughout the whole water park before it goes off. But she loved that. She loved doing that with him. She felt really big with that. She wasn't. And I think the part of Typhoon Lagoon that I didn't love was it's hard to see the water slides. My daughter was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know how big it is. It's hard to see how big things are. And I wish I would have done a little more research going into it to at least give her an option or two of which ones would be good, because because we didn't know for certain, she ended up not really doing any water slides. There was one that they could both do at the wave pool, in just the very shallow part of the wave pool. And they did that one several times. It was, I think, 3 lanes, maybe 2, but they really liked that one. So anyway, after Alex lost his sunglasses, Annabeth wanted me to go see the big wave pool. And I said, well, I'm not getting in it, but I'll walk over there. And so they did that little water slide there several times. And we decided to order quick service at Leaning Palms, I think it's called. I think I got some kind of coated chicken tender, and the kids I usually get them, I'll get a mac and cheese and a chicken tender or something like that. And they just share those. And I think Alex, I don't remember what he got, maybe a burger, but it was good food, especially for a water park. I didn't have super high expectations. We waited quite a bit after we mobile ordered, and I got the notification that the food was ready. We probably stood at the window for 20 minutes after that. And the guy that was helping us, he would look at the receipt and go get one thing and then come back and look at the receipt and go get one thing. So it just wasn't super effective. And I think things like that were causing it to back up. But yeah, so I mobile ordered that at 12. It was ready around 12:30. We ate, had a table in the shade. It was getting very crowded by this point. It was hard to find a table, but we found somewhat in the shade, and then we decided to go do the lazy river, which I remember you talking about with being super nice. And it's long. It's a nice long lazy river, but people are like piranhas trying to get the floats. I didn't realize that was going to be like an Olympic sport, but we waited for a little bit to try to get a float. And I said, I don't think we're really going to get one, especially 4. I don't think we're going to get 4. So the kids were fine to just kind of swim through the lazy river. And Alex and I walked and eventually got floats from people who were getting off. But I can see why they don't have a lot of floats. I mean, there were a good amount, but it was also very crowded, and they're not going to have an endless supply of floats, because then you just wouldn't be able to float through what Ben called the crazy river. So he called it the crazy river. If that
That's
tells you how
lazy.
if that tells you how we went through, it was the crazy river. Yeah.
Mhm.
But they enjoyed that. I guess that was their first time being in a lazy river. They'd never really done anything like that. So it was the crazy river, and Alex let me do another lap while he took the kids over to the kids' play area. So I did another lap in the lazy river that time. And so they went back to the kids' play area, and Annabeth liked being around there kind of with Ben, but she couldn't, like I said, she couldn't do any of the slides. They wanted to go back to the wave pool, Alex and Annabeth. So Ben and I went to go get Dippin' Dots near the entrance. And by this point, most of the slides, because I'd kind of talked Annabeth into doing a slide, but they were around a 30-minute wait, and she didn't want to wait that long. So we figured we were probably about done. We requested a minivan at 2:45. We decided to take that back since we were going to the Contemporary. We didn't want to switch buses.
And had you gotten any texts or anything about your room?
No, I hadn't. I'm looking to see if, no, I didn't put that in my notes, but I actually got on my phone and turned off my location to see if that would do anything, because I remember us, talking about, here on podcasts where people don't get their room assignment until they get to the resort. So I thought, wonder if I turn off my location. So I did that, and I would say, I don't know if it was ironic or just the time, but about 20 minutes later, I got the notification after I did that. So it was a little bit after 3 o'clock. We weren't there, though. So It could have had something to do with it. I don't know. So we were picked up about 3:10. When we walked out, there's obviously not that many bus places, and it was just a little confusing about where the minivan location was. They had a sign that said lift pickup. So I asked a cast member, I was like, is this the minivan pickup too? And they were like, oh yeah, it is. So we sat there at the lift location, and we never saw any minivans, which I thought was strange. Turns out they told us the wrong information. There are parking spots in the parking lot that are designated minivan locations, because I was tracking the minivan and it looked like it was there, but there were no vans around. So we figured out where their correct location was, and they are, like I said, parking spots if anyone else does a minivan from there. So at that point, I was concerned if our luggage would be back in our room by then. So I checked to see, we had a Steakhouse 71 reservation for 6 p.m. And I was like, I'm just going to see if there's something a little bit later, because I knew we would want to shower and change and all that stuff. So there was one for 7:35. So I switched to the 7:35 reservation. Like I said, our room was ready at 3:25, about the same time that we got there, so it was great timing. The kids, we didn't have any of our luggage, but I brought a change of clothes for everybody, and everybody was already changed from the water park. So the kids went ahead and showered, watched TV. We called to see if our luggage was there, because we would just go get it if it was there, and they said that it would be at the Contemporary at 5. A little after 5, Alex went down to see if it was there. It was there, but it hadn't been moved yet. So they said, okay, we'll go ahead and bring it up. And they did very quickly. They brought it up around 5:20. So we had our luggage by then. So I'm so glad that we pushed back the reservation, because I don't think that we could have gotten ready in that amount of time. After we were ready, we kind of went down to the gift shop there at the Contemporary. I like to buy magnets where we stay. So the Contemporary did have a magnet, so I bought that. They had some, at every resort, they had some cast members kind of set up doing different activities with the kids, especially this time of evening. And they had, like, right outside Steakhouse 71, some coloring for kids. And then they had 2 cast members who were asking trivia questions for a surprise pin trade. So Annabeth wanted to do that. She's just gotten into pin trading. So they asked her question was, what is Andy's sister's name in Toy Story? And I didn't have any idea. That was not one that I knew, but she came up with Molly like that, and that was it. So she got to pin trade a surprise pin. So that was a cute little memory. We checked into Steakhouse 71 at 7:20, and we were seated at 7:40 for our 7:35 reservation. it took a while for our food to come. It came around 8:40, which is much later than we ever eat dinner. So the kids were very hungry, but it was great food and it was worth the wait. Alex and I got steaks and I got the potatoes. I ate some of the kids' mac and cheese because I've always heard that the mac and cheese is good there, and it was very good. And they really liked the mac and cheese.
Was that your first time there?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good food. Like I said, it was late, but it was good food. We got back up to the room about 9:15, and the fireworks were supposed to happen at 10, but they were a few minutes delayed because there was some lightning in the area. So it was we actually got a little disappointed because I thought, I don't think they cancel fireworks often, but it would be our luck that the one night that we could watch them from our balcony that it would be this night, but it was about 15 minutes delayed. So we were still able to watch from the balcony, and that was very cool. And they can turn the TV on a certain channel and the music comes through that's timed correctly. So we really liked that. That was probably a core memory. And the kids were so tired. For the last part of it, they laid in the bed. We had a room. I requested an odd numbered room so that we could face the park from our beds. So we were actually laying in bed watching the end of it. So that was very cool.
That's very sweet. So if they're tired, they can go lay down and watch it.
Yes, it's too much to sit on the balcony and watch fireworks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it had rained very hard, so we couldn't sit on the balcony. Everything got super wet out there. Yeah, so we didn't actually sit. We just kind of stood out there for a while. It was very wet.
Well, it's probably nice that you were under the same roof then that night, so you didn't have to go out in it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. So the next day was Sunday, June 28th, and you were headed to Magic Kingdom.
Yes. So I woke up about 6:30, everyone else around 7, and we were out the door at 7:34, which was great timing. Like I said in my pre-trip, we are not rope drop people, but everyone really wanted to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train during early entry. So that was kind of our motivation to get up and out the door. We picked up coffee at the Contemporary Grounds place right there at the entrance exit for the parks at 7:43. And then we scanned in at 8:01. So I never walked from the Contemporary to Magic Kingdom, so I didn't know what to expect, but it was perfect for that, especially early in the morning, So we drank our coffee on our way over there. We were scanned in at 8:01. And we got to Seven Dwarves at 10 after 8, and they said it was going to be closed for several hours. So I know. And so
such a bummer. I'm glad you had a single pass at least, but
yes,
that's a bummer because it makes early entry less worth it.
Yes. Well, and so everyone goes to Peter Pan. So in my mind, I thought one of the first ones to Seven Dwarfs. So I thought maybe if we book it to Peter Pan, we can do that with a very short wait. That line they had it going all the way down to Haunted Mansion and around and back up by It's a Small World.
My goodness.
So they were saying it was about a 45-minute wait. And my kid, we just don't love Peter Pan enough to wait 45 minutes during early entry.
I don't think I love anything that much.
I know. So we left from there. So that was the second pivot of the day. Mm-hmm. And we went to the Barnstormer, which is not what I would spend early entry time on, but my kids wanted to. And we rode it 2 times before 8:30. I mean, had there not been people, like maybe 1 or 2 little families standing in line, I think they would have just let us stay on. But it seemed that someone else popped up, right as we were about to get off. So the kids loved that. Ben loves that ride. So, whatever. It made them happy. So we did Barnstormer twice before 8:30. We did Dumbo after that and got off of we were off of Dumbo by 8:40. So 3 rides within 10 minutes of early entry technically starting. We went over to the restroom there at Storybook Circus, and Little Mermaid had no wait. So we walked over to Little Mermaid, and we were there at 8:50 and on by 8:54. So it was a walk on. We did get stuck on that ride for a little bit. We got off at 9:08 and decided to go over to the People Mover. So this is not the conventional, I don't think, start of Magic Kingdom for most people, but my kids were loving it. We got in line for the People Mover at 9:17. It was a posted 5-minute wait. We were on in 3 and off at 10:33. And Our first lightning lane was technically Haunted Mansion, I think at 9, but I did not want to go all the way over to Haunted Mansion because our second one was for Buzz, and it was at 9:45.
And you've already there.
I was already there. So we're doing that first. So we scanned into Buzz at 9:43. And I guess, that one, so it grabbed White Magic grabbed Pirates for later in the day and then immediately modified it to 1 o'clock. I used White Magic I did it for grabbing lightning lanes at Magic Kingdom, and then I wanted it to modify to as early as possible. So we grabbed Pirates for that. We walked towards Haunted Mansion and we stopped to take a castle picture. We didn't use Photo Pass. We just asked another family to take our picture, and it turned out great. Let's see. White Magic modified Pirates to 10:30, which is what I was hoping for. While we were over there, we would get to ride it. By this point, our return time for Haunted Mansion was already up. Our original time, I guess it was 9 to 10. And I did not realize that you could, and I've considered myself a pretty savvy with lightning lanes, but I got a notification from White Magic that it booked Tiana's. And so I didn't realize that because my hour window was up, it would go ahead and book something else.
So you're technically holding 4 at a time.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I guess I just never realized that, or I hadn't used, you got to hit the times just right when those windows expire. But it booked Tiana's for 6:25. And we stopped at the Rapunzel bathrooms there before we went to Haunted Mansion. And there was a brother and sister, very similar in age to my kids, and they were handing out stickers to everybody. My kids loved that, and they asked if we could do that again next time we go to Disney. So,
they want to hand out stickers next time.
Yeah.
See, that's the ideal. It's like you pass it on.
Yeah. So they were kind of confused at first. They were like, "Why are they giving us this?" And I was like, "It's just a kind gesture, and." They loved that. So yeah, we'll try to remember to do that again next time. So we got in line for Haunted Mansion at 10:20 and we were on by 10:33. The line, the waits still weren't that long. I want to say this was a 20-minute posted wait, but there was someone who videoed with their flashlight on the entire time in this ride that were in front of me and Annabeth. And not only were they doing that, their children were screaming like they were in a horror movie. And my kids don't get scared on Haunted Mansion, but that added layer of just extra noise was too much for me. Like I was overstimulated. They were ready to be done with it, and it just didn't make for an enjoyable Haunted Mansion experience. And I just hate that.
Yes. I mean, I feel like a lot of people listening have had this happen before. Like somewhere near you in Haunted Mansion, someone's screaming, and that's all you hear the whole ride.
Yeah. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can't imagine if my children were acting that way. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we went into the Haunted Mansion shop, and Annabeth wanted to get a pin from Haunted for the ride. So she got a pin, and while she was shopping around, I placed an order for Pecos Bill's Telltale Inn, whatever it's called. I ordered that at 10:50. They didn't technically open till 11, but we had our mobile order pickup ready. On our way over there, we stopped by Jesse's Roundup, and when we walked in, there wasn't a show really going on. Kids were just kind of playing around, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I knew Jesse and Woody and Bullseye came out, but the kids just kind of played around, and they were like, "What are we doing here?" And just wait, more's going to happen. So they brought the singer and Bullseye out, and then they had some more playtime, and then Jesse and Woody came out. So it was definitely staggered. And I had to ask a cast member, I was like, does Jesse come out after the singer and Bullseye went off the stage? And they were like, yeah, just wait around for a few minutes. But the cast members were so great interacting with kids. And Annabeth got chosen to do the jump rope. She didn't have to jump rope, but this cast member they said, you keep jumping, and then they put her in the jump rope. So that was fun, and she felt very special. I kept modifying our pickup time for our meal at Pecos Bill because we stayed longer. So I like that they allow you to change your arrival window.
Yes, but I like that you were having so much fun that you had to do that.
Yeah. The kids were enjoying it. They stayed for most of it. I think it was about to wrap up when we decided to leave. So we left there around 11:36. So we were there for like 40 minutes. It was great air conditioning and seats for the parents. So I think they know exactly what they're doing with stuff like that.
They just need to get with over at the Bluey area.
The Bluey area needs to take notes. Okay, so we got our lunch, picked up our lunch at 11:45, and when I placed the order, the kids weren't that hungry. It was almost 11, but I knew we needed to eat something. So by the time we got our food, they were hungrier, and I didn't order enough food. So I went out and got a pretzel from the little pretzel place there too, and we ate on that as well. By that point, my hour was up for Pirates that Weight Magic had grabbed, so it got Peter Pan for later in the evening at 7:05. It moved Tiana's up to 12:50. So by this point, the kids didn't really want to do Tiana, so we ended up not using that. I think I switched it to Winnie the Pooh because they didn't really care for Tiana's at that point. We knew we were about to probably go back to the room. But we walked over from Pecos Bill to Big Thunder Mountain, and we scanned in at 12:02, and we were off by 12:16. And I love the changes to Big Thunder Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the padded seating, that's a great ad. Yeah. After that, we scanned into Pirates at 12:24, and we were off by 12:40. And this is when we decided we would probably take our midday break, which I thought it would probably be around 1. Instead of walking back in the heat, we decided to take the monorail. So we were at the Contemporary by 1:07. So I think it was a 4-minute monorail ride from Magic Kingdom to the Contemporary. And Alex and Ben wanted to stay in the room, but Annabeth wanted to hit up the pool. So I did that with her. We got to the pool around 1:30 and left around 2:30. The Contemporary is definitely not known for its pool, and I can see why. She enjoyed the water slide, but it's just nothing fancy. And yeah, so
Yes, it's not known for the pool, but that 3 or 4 minute commute from Magic Kingdom.
that's what it's known for. Yes.
That's what it's known for.
When Alex and I were talking about what our favorite resort was, we said that was the perk of the Contemporary. I didn't love the theming. Other than being in the iconic Contemporary hotel, it just didn't feel super Disney inside, in our rooms and stuff. It felt more like just a normal hotel room. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I loved it, but it's definitely got its place in a trip, and I think we did it the right way.
You're taking advantage of your location for sure.
Yes, for sure. So we came back up to the room, and there was a knock on the door, and it was housekeeping, and I was a little shocked because we don't typically stay deluxe, so you don't typically get housekeeping on your second day. It's usually every other day for moderate and value. So she was there, and she was kind of startled that I was in the room because I didn't put the sign on the door. And I was like, "Oh, you want to clean the room? We'll be out in a few minutes." I just completely forgot that at deluxe resorts they do that every day. So after that, we were on the monorail at 3:30 to go to the Polynesian for our Ohana reservation. Yeah, so
so close,
10 minutes, and we checked in at 3:45, and we were seated at 3:50. So it couldn't have been better timing. We finished our meal in around an hour. I had to ask for kids meals because my kids like the shrimp and the noodles, and that's about it. But last time that I was there, I remember the waiter asked me if they would want anything else like chicken tenders or mac and cheese. So the lady didn't offer it, but I asked her, and she said that they were happy to bring that out. So that may have changed in the past couple of years. So they brought that out for the kids. And she was a wonderful cast member. I even gave her a cast compliment too. I don't remember her name off the top of my head now, but we forgot to refill our water bottles before we left the Contemporary. And we just kind of asked her if she could leave a pitcher of water. And she said, "Do you need your water bottles filled?" And we were like, "Yeah, would you care to just leave it and we'll fill it up?" And she was like, "No, open them all up and I'll fill them up for you." So that was definitely something she didn't have to do, but very nice. And she was like, "Are y'all headed back to the parks?" So she was happy to fill those back up for us. So we went back to Magic Kingdom, and we were scanned in again within 10 minutes of leaving the Polynesian. When we walked in, the flag ceremony was happening at 5, and we had never watched that before. We'd never been at that side of the park during that time, and that was super special and neat to watch. Alex videoed it, and he sent it to some of his veteran friends, and that was very nice and well done. So I guess I forgot to mention that our Seven Dwarfs single pass had converted to an anytime pass because it still wasn't open from earlier in the day.
That says 8 hours later, or 9 hours later.
I don't remember what time I looked to see. I just happened to check to see if it was back open, but it was definitely after lunch before it opened back up. But we just knew we could do it when we came back into the park that evening. So we rode that and we're off by 5:40. I guess at some point had switched a lightning lane, or maybe grabbed another one over to Space Mountain because Alex wanted to ride it. So he went to ride Space Mountain at 6, and I took the kids to look at pins, and I think that was right there in Star Traders where we went into. And so they looked at some pins, and once he got back, we got in line for the People Mover at 6:15. So it didn't take him very long at all. It was a 5-minute wait. We were off of it by 6:35. At that point, I realized I had lost my water bottle. I'd set it down somewhere, so we backtracked a little bit, and I had set it down at Star Traders, I guess, when I had both kids by myself, and a cast member had it kind of sitting in the back, so we didn't have to go through the whole lost and found situation. The kids wanted to ride Barnstormer again, so we went over to Storybook Circus and we rode Barnstormer. It was about a 10-minute wait. Then we checked in for our Winnie the Pooh Lightning Lane, scanned in at 7:05 and off at 7:15. We also had our Peter Pan Lightning Lane. So stacking those earlier in the day for later in the day paid off because no one wanted to wait in line by this point in the day. So we scanned in for Peter Pan at 7:30 and off by 7:50. It stopped a couple of times during the ride. The kids wanted to do the carousel, so we did that. We did the PhilharMagic show. We just did so many things during this time period of the day because of our lightning lanes. So we were out of PhilharMagic by 8:20, and then we could check in for the dessert party, the fireworks dessert party at 8:30. So we walked that way. And I didn't really know what to expect. I had never done this before. So we checked in at 8:30. They had a pre-dessert party check-in. Actually, post was first, and then pre, and then they had the seats and suites over on the other side. So we went to the pre-show fireworks check-in, and they seated us at a table. My kids loved all the different themed desserts. That was, I think, a highlight of their trip. They just loved being able to get what they wanted, and they're little, so they stocked up on all of those. And we sat and ate for a while. It was nice to be able to sit down and cool down. I'd asked about how the parade viewing worked. I didn't know if it was in a different location than the fireworks viewing, but it was in the same location. So we went just a couple minutes before 9 over to the viewing spot to try to watch the parade. It was on a delay and didn't end up starting until about 9:25. So I hated that a lot of our time was spent just kind of waiting on the parade. We could have stayed longer back in Tomorrowland Terrace with the desserts, but it was fine. There weren't many people out on the lawn at that point, so the kids kind of ran around and played. We, after the parade, went back to Tomorrowland Terrace to grab a cup. I think the kids got some popcorn and got some more drinks. I will say that if this was my first time watching the parade, I probably would have been a little disappointed in the angle that you get, but we've seen it a couple times, so it was fine. I did have to hold Ben up for him to be able to see because you don't see the entire float. You kind of see mid up, I guess.
The tallest ones are the easy, yeah.
Yeah. So I could see all the characters and everything, but for a kid, that would probably be a little bit disappointing not being able to see it all. So we went back over to the lawn a few minutes before 10. They were on a delay. They started at 10:15. I don't know why
things being delayed.
I don't know. There was no lightning that I could see in the area. So I don't know. So we laid there for a little bit. The kids laid on the grass. It's that turf. And so they started about 10:15. And by 10:30, we were walking out of the park. We did the backstage exit there by Tomorrowland Terrace. So that made it pretty easy. And we walked back to the Contemporary. So we were at the elevator by 10:50. So within 20 minutes of fireworks ending, we were out of the park and at the Contemporary, and we were in bed by 11:30. So
yeah. Okay. So overall, would you do the dessert party again?
I would. I think that it's definitely not, it's not something that I would do every trip, but if it was, especially a different group, like if my parents went or something, I think that it's definitely worth not having to fight the crowds, especially if you have people in your party who you know that that would kind of turn them off to the experience of the fireworks just in general. I may look into the seats and suites option. It was more expensive and I didn't really know what to expect for the pre-dessert fireworks anyway. So went ahead and did that. But next time, if the price difference is not that much, I would probably do that because then you have your designated chair. And my husband was kind of like, you don't have a seat to sit in? Like, no, but you can sit on. And that's another thing. It's like, if everyone would just collectively agree to stay seated.
I know.
I mean, why do people stand up? You're paying that kind of money. Why are you standing up?
I know.
So then we all had, we didn't stand up. We just sat towards the back so that we could still see. But that's one thing I just don't understand.
I don't either, but that back railing's my favorite too for that reason.
Yeah.
So, all right. So sounds like overall a really good day.
It was a great day.
Okay, so the next day was Monday, June 29th, and you were taking advantage of your location again, right at the resort.
Yes, so we were going to go to Blizzard Beach this day. So I got up at 8, went down to get us coffee. Everybody got ready and we called for bell services. Bell services were much faster this day. And I'm sure it has to do with just the logistics of the resort. You know, everyone's right there with the Contemporary. So they were there in less than 10 minutes. So thankfully I didn't wait too long to call this day, or call too early, I guess I should say. So this was our Chef Mickey's morning. We checked in for Chef Mickey's at 9:57 and our table was ready immediately. Our reservation was for 10. We were done by 10:50, and I feel like with Chef Mickey's, it's one of the ones that sometimes take longer if you have already seen some of the characters. You finish your food, you're waiting on that last character, but we didn't have that experience. It wasn't super crowded, so that may have had something to do with it, but it was great. The character interactions were great. The food was good. I don't think we'd ever had breakfast there before. I think we'd only had dinner several years ago. So the kids enjoyed the breakfast and the Mickey waffles and all of that. So we were done by 10:50 and we walked down to get on a bus. We were going to do the bus transfer. So we were going to go to Animal Kingdom and then transfer to Blizzard Beach for the way there. I left the stroller though at Chef Mickey's because you park it on the other side and I didn't see the parking to remind me that we had the stroller. So we had gotten to the bus and realized that. So Alex went back up. And so we didn't get to take the first bus that arrived, which was at 11:03. So we waited for the next bus and it was about 20 minutes after. So we sat there for quite some time, but that was my fault. So he got the stroller. Bus came at 11:20 and at 11:40 we were at Animal Kingdom. And when we got off the bus, the Blizzard Beach bus pulled up immediately. So that was nice. I did not want to stand there at the bus station outside at Animal Kingdom for long. So the Blizzard Bus Beach pulled up, and I put this in my notes at this point because I remembered how we started at Typhoon Lagoon, and I wanted to try to find a good location for us. And when I pulled up the map, I wish that you could click on an attraction like you can for the parks, for the theme parks. You can click on it and see, a kind of a short description or height requirements or that kind of thing. And you can't do that for the water parks. So I just put that as a note that I wish you could do that. Mm-hmm. But I did recognize what was the kiddie section at Blizzard Beach was Tyke's Peak. So that was a little easier I didn't realize that for the, whatever it was called at Typhoon Lagoon.
Catch a Kitty Creek.
Catch a Kitty. I didn't put that together until I was typing it out. I was like, oh, Catch a Kitty. Okay. So Tyke's Peak is where we decided to go to. Find my place in my notes here. So we put our stuff down there. That was great for the kids. There was actually even one slide that both kids could do. The other ones had the height restriction, so Annabeth couldn't do them. But they loved the Frozen theming over there. And for my kids' ages, or even 4 and younger, I think that Tyke's Peak was or Blizzard Beach was a better choice. There were, I think, maybe one more water slide that Ben could do over there. And then they had the one that they could both do. And Catch a Kitty didn't have that. So we kind of did the same thing that we did on Typhoon Lagoon Day. Me and Ben stayed over at Tykes Peak, and Alex and Annabeth went to kind of explore something that she could do. And she loved the ski patrol training camp. And they came and told me after that what she had done. And she was saying, I'd never seen this, the zip line and the rope climbing, and she's all about that kind of thing. So I was like, in a water park, but the theming works great. So she loved that and stayed there for a while. When they came back and found us to tell me what she had done, Alex wanted to go do Summit Plummet, the big one that you take the ski lift up to. So he did that. He said it was fun. It lasted, all of 4 seconds because it's so fast, but he said it was fun. And there were like early teenage boys they said they had done it like 10 times. They had just kept going over and over and over again. And I was like, wow, their parents are sitting somewhere very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I can't imagine wanting to do that 10 times.
I know. Yeah. He said they were probably like 12 or 13. So that's probably about right for that age. So we did that and then decided to do the lazy river and kind of the same thing with the inner tubes. It wasn't as crowded at Blizzard Beach. I don't know if it's because it was Blizzard Beach or because it wasn't a Saturday like we were for Typhoon Lagoon, probably a little of both, but it wasn't near as crowded at Blizzard Beach. It started looking pretty ominous, the sky did, about this point. So I had a feeling that we were probably going to be leaving a little earlier than what we wanted to. But we got back to Tykes Peak and both kids played there for a little bit, and Annabeth wanted to show me the ski patrol training camp. So she and I walked over there, and she had no more gotten to the front of the line, and they closed all the pools because of lightning. So at that point, we decided to go ahead and call a minivan. So we called the minivan at 3, and they came at 3:20, and our room was ready at Yacht right a little after 3 o'clock. Got the notification, and the park was just crazy. Everyone getting out of there because it was closing. So I knew the buses would probably be a nightmare. So the minivan was the way to go this day for sure. Everyone leaving at the same time. So we got to Yacht Club. We were on the 3rd floor, and we, took everything to our room. And I saw under my dining plan, because I went to check to see if it had already rolled over our new credits. I'd never seen this before or heard anyone talk about this, but it said in notification at the top that I needed to zero out all my credits before I could use the new ones, because I think the kids wanted a snack or something at Blizzard Beach and I couldn't use my new credits yet. So there was one refillable resort mug that I hadn't filled from the Contemporary. So I stopped we went up to the room, and then I went back down to the marketplace there at Yacht Club and got that last refillable resort mug so that we could access the rest of our dining credit.
Okay, so you're saying that you had to complete all of your credits and your refillable mug from one stay. So you couldn't have just left some unused in order to start using the next one.
No.
So like if you wanted to use quick service or table service credits, you had to use up all the snack and refillable. Yes. That is so interesting. I did not know that.
Yes. So actually I went up to, I didn't put this in my notes, but the kids wanted some Mickey bars at Blizzard Beach, and I had one snack credit left. So I told the girl, I said, I want to check these out separately and put one on one dining plan and the other on another dining plan. And she was trying her hardest, but was very confused by what I meant by 2 different dining plans, I guess. So I said, you know what, just do this one and then we'll see what it says, because I thought maybe that's what it was, that I needed to wait and use that one. So we used that one snack credit on the Contemporary. And then I tried to do the second one using the snack credits for the Yacht. And because of that refillable resort mug, I couldn't. So I just paid for it. Yeah.
That learned something today.
Yes. So I had to go get that last refillable resort mug. And we had each gotten, a different color, because there's 4 colors. So we ended up with 2 blue ones. So I don't know. It was fine. While I was down there, I checked Bell Services, because I had, again, made another Walmart order for more water and some snacks. Also ordered some more sunscreen. And they had my Walmart order. I grabbed it, and I asked to see if our luggage had made it in the transfer. And they said that it had just made it from the Contemporary, and they would get it delivered. And within like 5 minutes, they had it up to the room. Like, I barely beat them back up to the room.
Can you talk about the Yacht Club?
Yes. I think it is our new favorite resort, and we have stayed at the Polynesian. So I feel like that usually is number one in people's hearts, but we loved that it was quiet. We loved that, the lobby. I feel like when we would walk, because we used the beach club a lot to get to Epcot, so that we weren't walking in the heat. And I feel like the lobby at the beach club was always very crowded, and it was not so at the yacht club. The lobby refurbishments are beautiful. It's Alex, even when we first walked in, he was like, why is it so dark in here? And they just keep it very, tranquil, and it's quiet, and our room was great. We had a balcony that I booked resort view, but I think on the app it said garden view. I don't think that's technically a room category to book, but probably is in the same as resort view. So we had a decent view, and the kids loved the pool. That was probably the highlight of the whole yacht club trip was the pool. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later.
Okay. So overall, good resort for you guys.
Yes. The only thing that I didn't love, and Alex and I both agreed with on this, there are not a lot of options at the quick service.
Yes.
And
that is true of the whole boardwalk area, I think.
Yes. So the kids loved the mac and cheese that was on the menu, but that was really the only thing that they really wanted on there. And I'm a pickier eater, and Alex was actually surprised because next I did do a mobile order at Yacht Club, and he was surprised that I got a hot dog because that's not something I would normally order, but it's what sounded best on the menu. So that was our first experience that evening with the market at Yacht Club at 5:15. So we ordered there. We ate just in the quick service there. It was storming at this point, so we knew that the pool probably wasn't in our plans for the evening. So we decided to just kind of explore the resort. We walked over to the beach club, kind of did that path, and we had never done an arcade at a resort, but this was a great opportunity because it was raining and it was right that we walked back, the kids saw it. So we did the arcade, and I like how you could buy the card. I didn't realize that. I was like, do I need dollars? Like, I'm sure it doesn't just take cash, but I like that I could fill the card. And then once we'd used all the money, we were done. So that was nice. And we did that, and we went back up to the room, and I decided that I would do some laundry this day. And the rain had started to trickle off. And so I looked on the map at where the laundry locations were, and the main one was out by one of the quiet pools. So I finally found that and had my laundry bag, was going out there, and I almost opened the door, and there was probably 6 inches of water in the floor. I guess
in the laundry room.
Yes, where it had rained so hard. I don't know, but I obviously didn't.
6 inches.
Yes, and they had signs everywhere, and I was like, well, obviously those don't work. I hope they have them unplugged. So I did. I just left and tried to find the smaller one, which was in the end of this hallway, and there were 2 washers and 2 dryers, and it was way backed up. So I knew I had to do some laundry, so I didn't do as much as I had anticipated, and I kept having to go back because I couldn't run 2 at once or anything like that. So I probably made 7 trips, and it was not an easy walk. It would have been better had the other one been open because, like I said, it was a full laundry room. So I did laundry till probably about 9:30, started probably about 6:30, just kind of walking back and forth because I didn't want to stay down there. And the kids fell asleep around 10. So that was our last resort switch day.
And did you decide against peaches and cream at some point?
Yes, we did. Yep. I forgot we even had that. We actually did that later in the trip, so I forgot we had it. So I don't remember what time the original reservation was. Oh, it was like 6:30 or something. And we were hungry. We knew we were going to be hungrier before that. So I went ahead and canceled it kind of earlier in the day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next day was Tuesday, June 30th, and you had Hollywood Studios plans.
Yes. So this was definitely the hottest day of the entire trip, and probably being at Hollywood Studios had a lot to do with that. But we left the resort about 7:50, and we decided to walk it. It was a long walk for my 7-year-old, but she was a trooper. We scanned in at 8:15, so time-wise it wasn't that bad, but I felt like the walk just kept going on. It definitely felt longer than 25 minutes. By the time we left and scanned in. That includes security time, though. So we decided to go, since we were there for early entry, we decided to go to Slinky first. My kids love that ride, so I thought if we can ride it twice, that would be great. So we got to Slinky at 8:24, and by the time we got there, it was a posted 45-minute wait. So that was crazy. And I knew that that's where a lot of people went, but I really, in my mind, I thought, okay, it won't be that bad. It'll be maybe 20, 30 minutes. It was 45, and they already had it running by 8:20, and early entry started at 8:30. So I was glad that they at least had it going. It ended up being about a 40-minute wait. So the kids, we did that, and then we went over for our first lightning lane, which was Alien Swirling Saucers at 9:05. We took a bathroom break and a snack break to get something kind of for breakfast there at the new place at at Toy Story Land that has the pizza rolls. We love those. So that was our breakfast for the day, but since we were there. Wait Magic got Mickey and Minnie's for me at 10:25 at Runaway Railway. So that was good right after we scanned in. We did something that we've never done before, but like I said, it was already hot, and on our way, we planned to go over to do the Little Mermaid show, but we weren't going to make it in time for the show. So we pivoted and went to Walt Disney Presents, and they had nice air conditioning. We'd never done that before. And they were telling people you could go in for the movie. So we did that, the Walt Disney movie. And so we watched that movie, and we were out at 9:50. So that was 30 minutes, but it was a good air conditioned break because after standing in line for Slinky for 40 minutes at least, we were ready for some air conditioning. So we did that. It was cute. When we came out of that, we were pretty much in Animation Courtyard or whatever it's now called. And I was like, oh, I kind of got excited. I was like, oh, there will be some characters around. It was just Pluto, and he was leaving. So I just don't think we timed it right, or it really was that hot, and that had something to do with the reason why there weren't a lot of characters out there. I think the heat index this day was 114.
114. Oh my.
114.
That is crazy hot.
Yes. So that probably honestly had something to do with it looking back. But yeah, when I checked at lunchtime, it was 114.
Wow.
Yeah. So we kind of, stood around there for a little bit, and the kids were like, no, let's go, just standing, and not moving. That's when you really feel the heat. So if we were walking, it was a little bit better, but just kind of standing and waiting on other characters that may or may not show up, that was not something they wanted to do. So we walked back towards Toy Story Land, and this guy that worked in the DVC stand complimented Annabeth's dress and Ben's outfit. And I have to give it to him. He was a little young guy, and he was a great salesman. He knew exactly how to pull us to the side, and he talked to us for a little bit. And by the end of that conversation, we had signed up for a DVC tour. Not something that I wanted to do, but I'm telling you, this guy knew exactly the questions to ask, and he saw a family that had young kids and decided that we were the ones for the day.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So he told us, I don't think Alex didn't know anything about how they, entice people with a gift card, but I knew that was eventually coming. And so when he said, I'll give you a $200 gift card, Alex was like, okay. And then he said they could do it at Disney Springs and asked if we had any Disney Springs time. So I told him we did, and he was like, and we can pick you up in the DVC van from your resort and take you there. And so I was like, well, that's kind of like a minivan. So, okay.
Yes.
So he knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah. So we signed up for that, and you'll hear about that later in the trip. So we were going towards Toy Story Land because we were going to ride Rise of the Resistance. We had a single pass for that. And so we scanned into that at 10:28, and we were off by 10:50. I was a little nervous about Ben liking this ride, but he said it was his favorite ride of the trip. My kids are so different. When Annabeth rode it the first time, she was scared by kind of the noise and, it's a lot of shooting and that kind of thing, but that was Ben's favorite part of the ride. So,
Yes.
So we enjoyed that and all got to ride that together. So that was our first big family ride, I guess, as far as a big ride goes. So we were off of that by 10:50, and then we had our Slinky Dog Lightning Lane. So we got to ride that again, and the kids were happy about that. So we scanned in for that at 11, and we're on by 11:05, and I think it was a 60-minute wait at that point. So
well worth it.
Yes, it was very worth it. And, when we use a lightning lane for a ride, the kids will often ask, can we ride it again? And if it's something like Slinky Dog, I'm like, no, we're not going to wait 60 minutes. So it was fun that I could say yes after we got off during early entry. So that really made that worth it.
I often feel for first timers in this regard because like your kid decides they really like something. It's like, well, it's really hard to fit that in.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because if it's something like Slinky Dog, you can't just get off and get back on.
No. And you don't know until you're there exactly what they're going to be into. So yeah, I'm glad your kids got to do it.
Yes, they got to it twice. So when we got off of that, I got a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show Lightning Lane for $5.15. And we mobile ordered around 11:30 for Backlot Express. And I picked up our food around 11:50. It was very crowded over here. There was no indoor seating. By the time I had our food, we needed to just sit down and eat. So we had to sit outside and eat. It was in the shade, but still, that's when I realized that the heat index was 114. So we sat there and ate. It was good food. We like eating there. And as a family, we kind of decided, okay, let's go back for our midday break at this point because it was just getting very, very, very hot.
And how did you decide to go back?
Oh, we took the Skyliner for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So the kids wanted to ride the Skyliner anyway, and I knew this was probably our one chance. So we started walking out of the park around 12:15, and we were definitely towards the back. And we got off the Skyliner at 12:47, and we're back in our room by 1. Okay. On our way up, we'd walked by the pool and they were closing it as we were going upstairs. All that heat, there was lightning, it was going to storm. So I told the kids, we'll wait a little bit and see if it opens back up. And this was the day that it rained all evening. Like,
wow.
Yeah. Even talking to our driver on the way back, he was like, so what did you do the day it rained the whole evening? Because, usually those midday Florida showers, they come and go. And that's what we were planning on to go back to Hollywood Studios. But it wasn't a little rain. It was a hard rain for like 4 hours and then still rained for probably 2 more after that. So
did it cool off that way?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Take some of the heat with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was still humid. You've always got that humidity, especially after rain. But it wasn't, the sun wasn't so hot. So the pool's closed. Like I said, it rained all afternoon. Ben ended up in a 3-hour nap. So that must have been very much needed. So he napped. I was the only one that didn't nap. I answered some work emails, made some phone calls. They played in the room with some of the stuff they had gotten. So this was not something that we normally do on a Disney trip. We hardly ever take the time to just sit in the room and rest or take a nap or that kind of thing because it's usually a shorter trip and we're go. But the weather, both the heat and the rain, kind of dictated the rest of our day. And no one was super bummed that we didn't do a whole lot the rest of the day. But we wanted to get some dinner. And oh yes, we had Roundup Rodeo Barbecue reservations. And we had to decide around 4. I think the reservation was at 6. We had to decide around 4 if we were going to do that or not. And it was not looking like it was going to, the rain was going to ease up anytime soon. So we went ahead and canceled that with the thought we may still go back to Hollywood Studios, but we just won't eat there, which was kind of a bummer because we knew the market didn't have a whole lot of options. So Alex decided to go in the rain to Blue Ribbon Corn Dogs. So we knew we wanted to try that while we were over in the boardwalk area. So he went over there and got corn dogs around 5:30 and brought them back to the room. And they were really good. I had the mozzarella stick and he had the Mexican street corn dog and the kids had hot dogs. So,
right. Good.
That's good.
Good for him for making that trek.
Yes. He volunteered his tribute to go in the rain. Oh, that time it wasn't hard rain anymore, but it was still raining.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, around 7:30, it looked like it was starting to clear up. It was too late to really go back to the park. So we asked the kids, do you want to go to Disney Springs? So just to get out of the room. I mean, we've been there since 1:00. So we called the minivan and it came immediately. We got to Disney Springs around 8 and we only went to World of Disney and the Lego store. But we did that in an hour and we decided to take the bus back and got to the bus around a little after 9 and we were back in the room by 9:45. And they were scanning everyone's magic bands. Well, one person in the party, magic bands to get on the bus to go back to the yacht club.
And were they verifying that you were just an on-site guest or that you were a yacht club guest going on a yacht club bus?
Well, I'm not really sure. No, it was before, the specific bus sections. So they were, I guess, just making sure that we were a resort guest because they didn't care at that point which bus went.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That'll help people to clarify on how it's working.
I know there's a lot of chatter about all that.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So the next day was Wednesday, July 1st, and it was a non-park day, but you had some things booked.
Yes. So we were up at 8 and we got to Topolino's. We took the Skyliner. We got there a little, let's see. Is that right? Got to the resort, a little bit before 9. So it didn't take long at all to get over to the Riviera. And we checked in at 9:25 and we were seated about 10 minutes after. It was great food, great character interactions. Alex and I both got the steak and eggs. We got that last time, and it was great food. The kids got the little Mickey waffle dippers, so there's just something special about that they love. I looked back on my phone because the very first trip that we did in 22 as a family, we ate at Topolino's. So we did some, I would show the characters, the kids, how they were kind of posed then, and they got the idea and reposed them as the now pictures, and so that was super sweet because they're still in the same Minnie still wears that dress and Daisy's still in her ballet outfit, so that was super cute, and the kids liked that too. Of course, they didn't remember that, so I always hear that about families say, well, I want to take my kids when they remember it. Well, this was a whole other way that they could not remember the trip, but get to know about it. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah. When they're that little, the memories are for you, even if they don't remember.
Yeah, so it made it even more special to me. And we were doing the pictures over again. Yeah. So that was great. It took us about 20 minutes to get back to the yacht club, and we were down at the pool by 11:45 because we knew this was probably our one big chance to get in Stormalong Bay. And there were we didn't really know where we were sitting, but the entrance that we went to, and they checked our magic bands at Riverside and at Yacht Club to get in the pools. The Contemporary, they did not check my
because nobody cares.
Right. I hadn't thought about that until just now, but yeah, they didn't check them at the Contemporary. But anyway, we just put our stuff down at the first set of chairs that we found, and the kids walked to the pool area, and you could tell it was for kids, but the water wasn't that deep. My son didn't have to wear a life jacket, and they had their goggles, and that sand bottom pool, that was just wonderful. They stayed there for the longest time, and Alex and I could sit in the chairs and still see them. We could also just sit. This pool was shallow enough that we could sit in the pool and still talk and stuff. So that was great. They really like that. And the sand is not like beach sand that, sticks to you. It's more like Epsom salt. And so it wasn't messy in that regard because we don't go to the beach a lot for that reason. They don't love all that sand. So it was the perfect combination of a good pool and still getting kind of that beach effect. So they did that, and then they played around there for probably an hour, and we wanted to do the water slide, and surprisingly Ben wanted to do it. So we all walked over to the water slide, and they had a smaller one that you could stop at to do. And so at first I just told Ben, I was like, let's do this one. And Alex and Annabeth went up to get in line for the big one, and he did that probably 3 or 4 times, and he was like, I want to try the big one. I was like, okay. So he and I got in line, and the lifeguard working at the top because he went before me, and he was fine. He had no hesitations. And she was like, was this his first time? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, he seemed pretty confident. But she could tell he was probably, there wasn't a height. I don't think there was anywhere that it was a certain height you had to be, but he was definitely young to be doing it. And so I went after him, and as I was on the slide, I thought, he probably is in tears down there because Alex and Annabeth were already at the bottom, but he loved it and wanted to do it again. So that was a really good water slide.
Now, when you were at the water parks, they were able to kind of do some water slide stuff by themselves. So
yeah,
were they able to here? Because it's a bit of a walk.
No, we stayed with them. Yeah. We walked across the path that you can walk there in front of the whole resort. That's not technically in the resort. We walked across that to get on, and those steps are pretty steep. So I wouldn't want them on that themselves, and you wouldn't be able to see them from
Yeah.
the bottom.
There would be a long time you wouldn't know where they were.
Yeah. So we did that first time, and then I think I did it twice. So the kids did it 3 times, and Alex did it 3 times. So they really liked that. The lines by the 3rd time started to get pretty long. So they liked that. And after we did the water slide several times, we got ice cream from the Beaches and Cream window. As we were walking over there, I just for some reason assumed that the line would be pretty long, but there was no one in line. So we got to get ice cream with our snack credits. And Ben and Alex were done, so they decided to go up to the room, and Annabeth and I stayed until about 2:30, and she just played around again there in that water sand area. She made a friend, so that was nice. I sat and answered some work emails and could still see her. But this was the day we had our DVC tour. So they made that pickup for 3:40 to have us at Disney Springs at 4. So the bus came. It was right there at 3:40. It was like a bigger than a mini. Well, it was just a large van, like a large passenger van. The guy was very nice who picked us up. You know, he didn't feel too pressury at all, because I thought, okay, they're going to start from the time they pick us up trying to sell it to us, but it didn't feel that way at all. They dropped us off at the regular bus drop off, but pointed to where to go. So that was pretty easy. And they told us that the meeting would be about an hour. We were pretty inquisitive, so it ended up being about 5:45. They have 2 scale rooms set up there at Disney Springs to see the deluxe room at the Riviera and the 1-bedroom villa at the Riviera. So that was nice to go in and see that. We've never stayed there, just eaten there. So the guy that talked to us was very nice. He wasn't pushy or anything, but it's just not something for us, at least right now. So we let him know that, and he was fine with that. So we got our $200 gift card and used it on dinner that night.
Used on dinner, which was at Disney Springs?
Yes. Okay, so here's another change that happened. Alex's brother lives in Melbourne. So we had decided earlier in the week to make sure he knew when we were going to be at Disney Springs. We've met him there before. So he came over to Disney Springs, and I checked all week to modify our T-Rex reservation to 5 people. And I didn't want to risk showing up there and them not being able to accommodate him and make him feel weird. So I just canceled that T-Rex reservation. I thought we'll do that next time. We ate at Polite Pig that evening. So we didn't have to have a reservation. We've eaten there before, really like it. Alex and his brother shared the big butcher board, and I got the salmon, which was really good. And the kids got, I think, mac and cheese yet again, but that's kind of their go-to. But we did that. The line was very, very long at Polite Pig. We got in line around 6:20, but we were eating by 6:40. They do a really good job of keeping people moving. And then they even reserve a table for you while you're in line, so people don't hold tables, for a long period of time. So that was nice. I like how they do that. After that, we went through several stores. The kids had some money to spend that they wanted to spend, and they got lightsabers at Once Upon a Toy. So, I always hear about the big fancy lightsabers at Hollywood Studios that you build, and that's too big for them, and I don't want to spend that much money. So the lightsaber, you still get to build it and customize it at Once Upon a Toy, but it's much cheaper. I think it's like $45 a lightsaber. So that's a great option for people with younger kids. We walked out of Disney Springs at 9:10, and we were back in our room by 9:40. So,
all right. You had one more park day left, Thursday, July 2nd. Plans at Epcot that day.
So this was a great day. We left the room about 8:30. We grabbed some breakfast at the quick service there at the market. We didn't even mobile order it. I found that there was really no need to mobile order at the market. There was never a line. And so we just walked up and ordered, much different than other, the Riverside, you would definitely want to mobile order. So we scanned in to Epcot by 9. So that was great. And we had a lightning lane for Remy's right at 9:00. And we walked up there, and I noticed that the PhotoPass photographer wasn't there, which I thought, okay, maybe it's just because it's early, but it was closed. It was down at the time. So that was a bummer, because that was, we were right there at it and probably weren't going to be back to that location until we left. the park. So we decided to pivot, and I needed to make a work phone call. And it was kind of quiet back there since the ride was closed. So Alex was like, well, I'll just take the kids and we'll walk through. We'll stay in France. Okay. So he took the kids and he texted me where they were when I got off my phone call. And I was like, oh, okay, they're at the Beauty and the Beast sing along. Okay. So I walk in and they were sitting there waiting, and I didn't pay attention to what the sign was or anything. And we go in and we sit down, and the Impressions de France started playing. And I was like, I thought this was Beauty and the Beast. So I didn't realize that it changes. Is that what happens?
Yeah, they show it. Both of them in
both at the same time. Okay, well, we didn't watch Beauty and the Beast, and the kids were not amused by the show. So we sat there for about 3 minutes, and then we exited. So that was kind of a wasted time, but whatever. It seemed like a rookie mistake, but I didn't realize there were 2 shows there. So we had our second lightning lane of Soarin', and by this time Remy's had already changed to an anytime pass. But we did have a lightning lane for Soarin', so we scanned into that at 9:46, and as soon as we scanned into that, we booked Frozen for 5:30. And this was a little bit of a bummer because I couldn't book Frozen until I'd scanned into Soarin', and I wanted to book it right after Remy's so that we could get it earlier in the day. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So we booked Frozen for 5:30. I didn't have Wait Magic working for this one. We got off Soarin'. It was about 30 minutes between waiting and riding. And I liked the Soarin' over America. I mean, it wasn't like fabulous, but it was okay. And so we did that. And then we had our Garden Grill reservation. I was actually kind of getting nervous because I think the reservation was at 10 and we didn't get off till 10:15. So I know they give actually it might have been 10:05, our reservation. They give a 15-minute grace period. So I was like off of Soarin' and like trying to check in as we were walking, and it kept telling me that I was too far away. So eventually it got it.
Which is crazy because it's
right there. Yeah. I said, but you do walk quite a long ways when you get off of Soarin'. So I kept trying to check in, but it was fine. They didn't say anything about us being late, but we were out of Garden Grill at 11. It was a good reservation. I don't think that I would necessarily do it again, kind of a one and done type thing. We met all of the characters in the first 15 minutes of being there, even before we got our food. I guess just kind of where they were in the rotation, we got them pretty quickly. So it was Chip and Dale and Pluto and Nikki. And they didn't stay very long. It wasn't the best character interactions, but the food was good. It was neat to just eat there, how the restaurant rotates. The kids thought that was pretty cool. And it was nice to have a breakfast reservation that morning. It was kind of odd because the kids were hungry that morning. So we grabbed something, early before we got to Epcot, and they were like, we're eating breakfast again. I was like, think about it as lunch. It's going to be lunch. It's what we have. So we were out of Garden Grill at 11, and Ben loves Figment. So we decided to walk over to Figment at that point. It was a posted 15-minute wait. We got in line at 11:10, and we were on at 11:30. So it was more like a 20-minute wait, but it was fine. We got done with that ride, looked around the gift shop, and we decided so I had a lightning lane for the Seas with Nemo and Friends to do like right after Figment. And while we were on that ride, it was down and gave us an anytime pass. So I had the Remy's one and the one for the Seas. But I wanted to walk over and let the kids try Test Track. I thought they would like that. Ben was tall enough to ride it. Since he liked Rise, I thought, okay, this is a bigger ride. He might like this one too. And I thought I could use one of my anytime passes for it. I thought I could at least use the Frozen one or the Remy's one, because they seemed to be okay with using Test Track over Remy's. So I got there and we scanned in, and it wouldn't work. It didn't turn green. So I didn't look to see what the eligible experiences were, and that was on me. But I thought that as long as it was in the same tier, it was okay. Well, that wasn't the case for Test Track, at least. And it was a 90-minute wait at this point. And the kids were really excited to ride it. So I told the cast member, I was like, well, I have this anytime experience. And he called another lady over, and she kind of took us to the side and had me click on it. And she was like, no, it doesn't. It's not, Test Track's not eligible for it. And I was like, oh, and the kids were bummed. And she was like, but I'm going to let you on anyway. So that was very nice. And definitely, she didn't have to do that. But we got on and we were off of it by 12:20.
And did they like it?
They did, yeah. Annabeth said she wished it had gone faster. And I was like, it goes pretty fast. I mean, I think it got up to 68 miles per hour, when it goes through that straight stretch. But yeah, they liked that and thought it was fun. It's a different type of ride. It's not like a lot of other ones. So they liked that. And to look at all the cars when we walked out, When we got off of that, we were right there at I don't know what it's called, but they have like Coke slushies and Fanta slushies, and you could put candy on them. The kids saw that and wanted to do that. Alex was going to go ride Guardians because Annabeth had decided she did not want to ride Guardians. So we were going to ride it separately. And so he went and did Guardians, and I got them one of the slushies, and they got to pick out what candy they wanted to put on it. So that was a good little way to pass the time while he was gone. And while he was also gone to Guardians, we walked into Goofy Core at 12:40, and it's kind of the same thing with Jesse's Roundup. There's a lot going on. The kids can play. It wasn't as much of a show as the Jesse's Roundup, but Goofy was interacting with the kids and playing. There were a lot of people in there. So I told the kids, I said, just go in and see what it's about, and if you don't want to stay, we'll go do something else. But they stayed for about 15 minutes. Alex had called and said that he was done, so we decided to all leave. But I thought that was cute, and probably Annabeth was a little bit big for it, but Ben was really the perfect age for that. They were doing like a conga line and what's a couple other games, and they had like some other things that just kids could play with if they didn't want to interact with the characters, some like blocks, those squishy blocks and stuff. So they thought that was fun. Anyway, so then it was my turn to ride Guardians. He got conga. Speaking of conga, he got conga, and I scanned into Guardians at 1:05, and he decided to take the kids. He didn't get a slushie, so they went to Starbucks and got a drink there at Connections, and I was off of Guardians at 1:33, so it was like right at 30 minutes. I feel like mine took longer than his did. And I got September, which is my favorite. So that was good. And that was the first time I'd ever ridden a ride by myself. So that was a different experience, but I enjoyed it. And so after that, we took a bathroom break and walked around World Showcase a little bit. At that point, like I said, it was getting very hot. There's kind of a trend, like, 1:30, 2 o'clock. That's when it definitely gets the hottest. So we decided to do Remy's on our way out of the park. So we scanned into that at 10 after 2, and we were off at 2:33. It stopped like right as the little mice were going towards where you're supposed to get off. Like it was probably 20 yards to the exit, and it stopped for a good bit of time. And I thought, this might be the first time I get evacuated off a ride, and it's just gonna be a tiny little walk like this.
You just walk off.
Yeah. So, but it was fine. It started back up. So we were off of that, like I said, at 2:33, and we were back in the room by 2:55. So that quick walk from Epcot to the yacht club, that's really one of the reasons why we were won over, because you don't have to walk even all the way to the yacht club. We would go in the first beach club entrance, and then you've got some air conditioning to get back to the yacht club. So I love it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because even though it's a little further than beach club, you do have the interior corridor.
Right. We just went that way. That was really cool. So we had, I think, a Via Napoli reservation for this evening, but we thought we would probably be hungrier than before 6 o'clock because we had Garden Grill, pretty early in the day as our lunch. So we were back in the room at 2:55, and we were kind of talking about what we wanted to do for dinner. And I had never done a wait list before at a restaurant. And so we decided to do a wait list for Beaches and Cream. It said that it would be a 25-minute wait, and I did that at like 10 after 4. So I thought, well, it's an early dinner, but we had an early lunch. We'll just get a snack when we go back to Epcot. Within 10 minutes, they said that our table was ready, and we had not left the room yet. So definitely not a 25-minute wait, but we made it to Beaches and Cream. And it said on there when I did the wait list that we would likely be seated at the bar, which was fine. The kids really liked looking over that because they have that plexiglass and you can see them make the ice cream and stuff. So they enjoyed, that was kind of dinner and a show. They enjoyed looking at that. And so we did Beaches and Cream. It was good food. We've eaten there before. And because we used our dining plan, We all got milkshakes, which is not something, we normally don't order dessert at restaurants or stuff like that, but we all got milkshakes and got those to go because we wanted to go back over to the pool. So we went over to the pool and the kids swam for about an hour, which was good to get a little bit more time at Stormalong Bay since they loved that so much. We didn't do the water slide, but they enjoyed doing that sand area. And we swam till about 6:30 and then went back up to the room and changed very quickly and took the boat over to Epcot this day. When we went back, we had never taken one of the friendship boats before. So we left the room about 7 and the boat came about 7:15 and we scanned in at 7:28. That probably took longer than what it would have been to walk, but the kids enjoyed that little experience and we weren't trying to get to Epcot super quickly. We had our lightning lane for Frozen, which is really why we went back to Epcot to mainly. Annabeth really wanted to do that. So we took advantage of our 2-hour extra window because our return time was 5:30 to 6:30. So we got in line at 7:38 and we were off a little bit after 8 from Frozen. And I never gotten the Kristoff coffee before. It was very good. We got that and some cookies there in Norway. And then we went over to the Grand Fiesta Tour and rode the 3 Caballeros ride. It was a walk-on. There was no one even in line. So we did that. And by that point, it actually rained while we were in Grand Fiesta Tour, and we could tell it was going to start storming probably. There was some thunder. So we decided to go ahead and leave Epcot. And that was our last park day. And we just walked back from Epcot then.
Mm-hmm. Just 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's all it took. Yeah, it was great.
All right. So that was your last park day. The next day was Friday, July 3rd, and you had a flight home.
Yes. So we got up around 7. We had packed up some things the night before, but got up around 7 to finish packing and get ready. And our driver was there at 8. And our flight was at 11:07 out of MCO. So he anticipated, because it was the 3rd of July. So he said, I'm going to pick you up a little bit earlier because I do anticipate the airport to be a little crowded with it being the holiday weekend. I have never gotten through, I checked our bags and through security so quickly. It was, the security at MCO was a walk-on. So that we had plenty of time to sit at the gate and everything, but I would rather be early than pushing it. So our flight was on time. We had no issues, got back into Cincinnati around a little after 1. No, it was actually before 1. We landed earlier than what we were scheduled to and had our 3-hour drive home and had no issues on the coming home day.
Before you headed to the airport, had you used all of your dining plan credits?
We had. We finished them off with the Kristoff coffee and the cookies there that evening at Epcot. So,
okay. So you did use all your credits.
Yes,
nice.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you some rapid fire questions. So Thoughts on traveling this time of year?
I was very nervous about it because I didn't know how my kids would take the heat. But the only way that this became a pleasurable vacation is taking that midday break, which is not something that we normally do, but it caused us to slow down and I really enjoyed it. I love that we could take a longer break or a longer trip because we normally don't get to do that through the school year. I would definitely do it again. Alex and I have talked about doing it again next year. This was a great week to do it. I feel like we kind of got there before any big 4th of July crowds got there. We didn't try to do Magic Kingdom or Epcot when they were, doing the 4th of July things. So that was good. So yeah, I would definitely do it again. I think we went in with the expectation that, it's going to be hot. We prepped our kids for that. And I have to give Annabeth kudos because she did not have a stroller. She's 7. I counted up all my miles, and the only time I really walked more than her was that walk that I did that morning at Riverside. I had 60 miles over the 7 days. So she never once complained really about her legs. So I give her kudos for that. And that would have been way more miserable if she had complained a lot and needed a stroller. So
yeah, that's a lot of steps for her little legs.
Yeah.
Port Orleans Riverside. It wasn't your first time there, but
right.
Would you stay there again?
Yeah, I would. I would remember to request a ground floor room if we have a stroller. because that was a pain trying to get up. But yeah, I look forward to when they renovate the Alligator Bayou section. I know those aren't renovated yet, and the more I looked around, I was like, the decor is definitely dated and it's kind of drab. But we weren't there very long, but we had never done the pool there, so it made it a great trip. I love that even though it's a long walk to the lobby, everything's very shaded and pleasurable. Like it doesn't seem like a long walk.
Contemporary?
Yeah, I would say there again, under the right circumstances, like if we were doing a party or an after hours event or something that would definitely keep us closer to Magic Kingdom, I probably wouldn't do like a full week stay there. Had great food options. The quick service was great. The pool, not so much. Location was the winner for us.
Yacht Club.
We will do it again. Yes, we've already been looking at for next year of what, if we want to do a whole yacht club stay or kind of like break it up again and do like a Magic Kingdom and then yacht club again. But I think Alex and I even agreed that we've never stayed at the beach club, but we would probably prefer yacht over beach. And also I didn't realize till I was looking around that not all the rooms at the beach club have a balcony. And
they don't.
And that's crazy that you're paying that much and you don't have a balcony, but yacht you do have. And we saw
and sometimes at the beach club you end up with Juliet one, so you can't even really go out like you can at the yacht club.
It's just a door. Yeah, I noticed that. But with the yacht club, you can bring your dog. We saw lots of dogs there, but we didn't hear any dogs really. So that was cute.
Riverside's another one that allows dogs. There's a few. Yeah. So you just happen to pick two of them.
Yeah, right.
So you said you're thinking about doing a split stay next time. So my next question was going to be, how did you feel about doing a split stay?
3 was a bit much. 2, we've done 2 before, a split stay with 2 resorts. So I would probably keep it at 2. Like I said, the trip kind of kept growing once we decided to fly, and the flight options were just better to add on that stay at Riverside. So yeah, I would do a split stay again. They make it very easy that they'll come get your bags. I tried to pack in a way that we weren't in multiple suitcases at every resort, but I had forgotten that Frontier that's what we flew, only allowed you to have your checked bags up to 40 pounds. So that threw things off, and I had to kind of last minute shuffle things into carry-ons, which threw off my organization system, but it was fine.
What about the dining plan?
I will definitely do the dining plan as long as kids are free, but I like that things are prepaid, but probably once kids are not free anymore, if we go back next year in 2027, I won't get the dining plan and just try to do gift cards so it feels prepaid. But I like not having to feel like you're nickel and dimed all the time. But I know that with the way my kids eat and, we were obviously pretty flexible with dining. And the reason why we did that walk-up reservation at Beaches and Cream is because we had 1 table service credit left that last night, and I didn't want to leave it unused. So, it's harder to be flexible with the dining plan when you've got the table service plan. So probably won't do it again as long as if the kids aren't free.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there anything about your trip that we haven't talked about yet?
I don't think so. We had a great time. And like I said, the weather and the both heat and rain kind of dictated everything. And I think to some people it would feel like we didn't do a whole lot, but it truly felt like a vacation. I know Disney doesn't always feel like a vacation, but this one did. And we didn't feel like we needed to recover when we got home.
Yes. Well, that's nice. That is rare.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking the time to share it. I know there's a lot of notes associated with this sort of thing. So we appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that trip report. I did keep talking to Ali on the After Chat on Patreon. That is up right now in video and audio form. So if you're a patron, check for it there. If you're not a patron, which you've been waiting for, please join us. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 522. Until next time, I'll see you on the site.